Deuce Knight is set to make his first start as an Auburn Tigers. What are the expectations for the freshman? Before coming right at you, we are here on a Thursday. Auburn basketball played last night, so we delayed the stream by one day to make sure we could still get in here. We'll talk with you all this week, but we are here, sponsored, of course, by the Rage Room. 2 locations for you, Opelika and Birmingham. Whether you are down there in Opelika, 1510 2nd Avenue in Opelika, or in Birmingham, 2616 7th Avenue South, the Rage Room has got you covered in case you need to get some rage out. In case you are upset about the way the Auburn football season is going, or you are upset at the way in which Auburn basketball is playing, I don't know, whatever the reason is, whatever's got you raging, make sure you get that out in a more conducive way over at the Rage Room. And if you want to support what we have going on here directly, you can support us by supporting the people who sponsor us. Please do that. But you can give us some money too right here. $5.99 gets you to that patron level that allows you the best of the best that we have to offer you all here in coverage, and things like lives that are unscheduled and randomly talking to me. You could do things like that, of course, over here on YouTube, and we have watch parties and things of that nature for all of our members, film reviews and breakdowns by yours truly as well. Maybe someone who is a part of the Green Name Gang wants to gift a membership, and you will get 1 month free membership on them. Make sure that you stay alert to what's happening. You'll get alerted and be able to enjoy the perks of being a member of one of the greatest online communities out there in existence. And you can tap in with some of the other folks that are along with us for this journey of supporting Auburn sports. And that is we here at the Auburn Express on podcast, the Uptempo podcast, the College Loop, and Just a Sec podcast. And then on YouTube, you've got the gaming channel that's going to be able to get you guys a lot of great coverage of sports gaming. Dustin's doing a great job over there, as well as what he's doing with the Uptempo pod. Make sure you guys tap in with him over there. Let's get straight into the conversation today. I'm solo for a little while here. I think some of the guys are going to jump on later, but it's your guy Ike Jones in here, and we are talking about Deuce Knight. It was announced earlier today that Deuce Knight. Now let me just go and give my man Mike G his props. He was ahead of this in declaring Deuce Knight as the potential starter for this game like a week ago. But it is official now out there in, at least in internet land. I don't think that the coach has come out in the media and said it, but it has been reported that Deuce Knight will get his first collegiate start versus Mercer this Saturday. And the question that we have to pose to you all is Deuce Knight ready for this start? He's come in with a lot of expectations and a lot of hope. And some of that has been, if we're being honest, in the minds of some people. I will not be included in those who are going to be, who this next statement will apply to. In the minds of some, the expectations have been lowered a bit for Deuce Knight based upon what people saw from him in his limited action earlier in the season versus Ball State with the ball security issues and things of that nature. Didn't feel as if Deuce Knight was impressive. And so people are wondering whether or not Deuce Knight is going to be able to be effective in his first ever collegiate start here. We'll see. We'll definitely see. When we talk about a guy like Deuce Knight, he's what Coach Hugh Freeze termed multiple times the future, right? Like he's the guy who was sold to recruits when they came in to Auburn, but specifically those offensive guys, the wide receivers and running backs, offensive linemen, that this was going to be the guy you were going to be catching passes from, you're going to be blocking for, you're going to be getting handoffs from. Sold to defensive guys as this is going to be the galvanizing leader for you all coming into your freshman class. It's important for Deuce Knight to have a good showing in this game, albeit against Mercer, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend as if Mercer, if he plays well versus Mercer, he's going to be an amazing player. But on the other side, if he doesn't play well, what does that speak towards? And are Auburn fans going to have leniency on a true freshman making his first start? You got to wonder kind of what the nerves are like for Deuce Knight with this one, right? Like, is it excitement and jittery, like he just needs to get out there and get it going, or is he drinking from a fire hose type of thing? Like, we're 11, well, this will be the 11th game of the season. So though he has not, and let me just say this. I don't believe, unfortunately, that this coaching staff has done a great job of getting young quarterbacks in the 2.5 seasons under Hugh Freeze, getting young quarterbacks ready for action, right? Like, I don't think that in the time that he had Holden Gerner there, he got Holden Gerner ready to go out there and play. In the time in which he had Walker White there, in the time in which he had just, list off the quarterbacks there, I don't know that he had them ready to play in any of these games where they weren't tabbed as the starter going into that game. Meaning, if he needed to go to his bench at any point in time during a game, I don't know that the backup quarterback was ready to do that for these young quarterbacks. Now, Ashton Daniels is different, right? Like, though he has not had time in the system, he had not had time in the system, I should say. He had played P4 ball. So you could strip it down and play, kind of a base offense and expect him to go out there and be reasonable in your expectation for him to go out there and execute, right? I'm not sure you can say that for any of these younger guys that were just learning the system, hadn't played any collegiate football yet, that they had been accurately or adequately prepared to step out there onto the field and be a backup. I don't know that the backup quarterback was ready to go under Hugh Freeze at any point in time. So that begs the question for a guy like Deuce Knight, who wasn't even the number 2. How ready is he to go out there and execute this playbook? How much did the mental reps allow him to understand the playbook to some level? And now the reps that he's gotten, coming off of this bye week and being prepared as, having this QB competition with Jackson Arnold, because it was made clear that they were going to preserve the Ashton Daniels red shirt for this season. It was going to be between Deuce Knight and Jackson Arnold to start this game. How much did that preparation as getting actual snaps during practice and being able to go out there and get real reps with some of the ones, which is something he probably has not done very much in the entirety of his collegiate career so far as a true freshman quarterback, actually get reps with the first team guys? How much has that prepared him to step out there on the field and be the guy starting snap number 1 on offense for Auburn this season? And you have to wonder again, are there going to be nerves involved in this? And, what is this coaching staff, Derek Nix, and this offensive staff prepared to do to help him be able to get those jitters out? How ready is he to step into that spotlight and be the guy, again, albeit being against the Mercer Bears, right? Like, I understand what Mercer's record is, and, but listen. I don't care what their record is. Auburn's supposed to win this football game, right? Doesn't matter if they came into this game undefeated. Yes, they know how to win. Physically, athletically, you should be able to go out there and dominate the team on the other side of this. They should be able to lean on a run game so Deuce Knight doesn't have to throw the ball 40 times in the game for them to get a dub. They should be able to do some things and just physically overwhelm this team. But the question still is, what's the game plan going to be for Deuce Knight? He's not the kind of runner that Ashton Daniels or Jackson Arnold is, right? Like, so it's going to look different offensively. He can run. He can absolutely run. So I'm not saying Deuce Knight, but he's a different kind of runner. Are they going to be willing to some of the design quarterback runs that you saw for Jackson Arnold and Ashton Daniels in their starts? Are they going to be willing to run Deuce Knight in that way during this game? Is that something that they feel like he's going to be, or are they going to try to put his arm on display, right? Like, he's got a big arm. Are they going to try to take some shots early in this game to see if they, can air it out versus Mercer? What's the plan going to look like? I'm very interested to see how this game plan is focused around the skill set of one Deuce Knight, because I don't feel as if prior to the Vanderbilt game, and really even the Vanderbilt game. The Vanderbilt game, I don't know that necessarily the game plan was focused around what the skill set of Ashton Daniels was, other than they're asking him to process quickly, get the ball out of his hands quickly, which clearly he has an ability to do that because he did that consistently throughout that game versus Vandy. But I do want to see kind of what the balance is for how they're going to approach this game, considering one of the things that I just said. Physically, you should be able to overwhelm this team, right? Like, and how is Mercer going to try to combat the fact that, yeah, I don't know that physically you're going to be able to stand up versus this, the size that Auburn is going to, the lag that Auburn is going to put out there on the offensive line versus Mercer. If you look at the size comparisons of these two teams, Auburn definitely has more size in this game, right? Are they going to be able to just go out there and lean on him? And Jeremiah Cobb, how many touches is he going to get in this game, right? Like, we're talking about preserving eligibility for Ashton Daniels, but are you going to preserve some wear and tear on the body of your number one running back in this game? How much are you going to see the freshman jump in there and be able to play during this game? Is Robinson ready to go? And is he going to be able to shoulder some of the load so that you don't have to play Jeremiah Cobb as much? How much are they going to lean on the run game for that young quarterback to allow him to get into some manageable scenarios on third down so he's not having to stand back there in the pocket versus a Mercer team who is doing an excellent job in getting to the quarterback this season between, their ability to get sacks and pressures this year. They're up there tops in the country in being able to do that. Is Auburn going to have problems with that? Because that's one thing that despite having size advantage, now they were able to run the ball effectively versus Ball State. And I think that they were in that game. I'm still going to shoot a little bit of bail and say in that game, specifically in the second half, they were just trying to work on stuff and not really saying, okay, we're just going to go win this game by mashing them for 4 quarters. They were still trying to work on their drop back game, which allowed Ball State to get some opportunities. But in that regard, what I'm saying is Ball State was able to get pressure and sacks on Jackson Arnold in that game versus this offensive line. Is this offensive line ready to go out there and protect the way that they need to against small, quick defensive linemen that are able to hit you with speed and, give you a little move? Are they ready to go out there and protect the way they need to for a freshman quarterback who could be making some mistakes out there? I don't know, right? I don't know what their capability is on that because they haven't been good in pass protection all season, right? They did fairly well for the vast majority of the Vandy game, but there were some moments where they were giving up pressure, and Ashton Daniels did a really good job of getting rid of the ball in those scenarios and even taking some hits while delivering completed passes. Is Deuce Knight ready to do those sorts of things with his processing? How quickly is he able to understand what the defense is presenting out there? And are they going to be able to go out there and just play bully ball and allow him to let his athletes go out there and make plays in space versus a team that they should be able to physically overwhelm in this game? We will see what the answer to all of those things are very quickly, because I think that I think 2 things really at play in this for me. Deuce Knight's preparedness, and that's going to speak to the coaching staff for Auburn and how much he's been mentally locked in throughout this season, though he hasn't been getting the reps in practice, definitely hasn't been getting any in the game. How locked in is he to what the playbook is supposed to be, even though he's not out there actually executing those plays? How locked in is he been in practice these weeks now that he's had that opportunity with the bye week practices and with this week leading up to the game? How locked in is he to the game plan that they're putting into place? And is he able to go out there and really process the game at the speed necessary to be able to be effective in this one? Because again, this is the same thing that I've said about any of the quarterbacks that have entered into the starting position or into the quarterback position for Auburn. You don't have to be amazing with the level of athletes you have around you. You just have to be adequate. You just have to be able to take care of the football and make good decisions. You don't have to make amazing throws. You don't have to make amazing plays. You just need to be able to get the ball to playmakers and let them go make plays for you. But the question still remains, how well is he prepared for that moment? And that speaks to the coaching staff, and that also speaks to Deuce Knight and his mental space of being ready for this, right? And I think the last thing, that this indicates for me, and, we're talking about the head coaching stuff all week here on the Auburn Express. Mike G's done a great job of that with all of the guests that he's had on this week. But this is an active job interview for Derek Nix as well, as a play caller, a play a game plan creator, how well has he prepared his starting quarterback? Because that's going to be the only new cog in this, right? Like they're not starting all of the freshmen and he's going to go out there with the second team. This is going to be the starters and you're only inserting Deuce Knight. We saw what this offense looked like with Ashton Daniels at the helm with all of the starters around him against presumably athletically a much better defense, right? How well is he going to develop a game plan for the young freshman quarterback to be able to go out there and get comfortable early and go out there and impose their will on this defense for Mercer? Those are the questions that I have to ask about that, because again, this is going to be an active job interview for Derek Nix, whether that is as Auburn's next offensive coordinator next year or whether he's going to be going somewhere else. People are going to turn on this tape and say, this is what a Derek Nix coached offense looks like. What is it going to look like when you have a quarterback that has the skill set of Ashton Daniels? Does it look different when you plug in a Deuce Knight skill set quarterback? Is he able to adapt those game plans and make sure with the time that he has to put something out there on the field that's going to look good for either one of those quarterbacks? We'll get the answers to that. But here's the question I have for you here in the chat that I want to get answered before we move on to the next portion of this, is what do you think a good game, statistics-wise, a good game for Deuce Knight is going to look like? How many throws? What kind of completion percentage do you want to see? Are there acceptable number of turnovers that he's going to have that, oh, that's just freshman stuff, his first start type of thing? What would you consider this to be a successful first start for Deuce Knight out there? Throw that there in the chat. If you're watching this later on review, I definitely want, or replay, I want to hear your thoughts on that as well. Second portion of what I want to talk about in terms of this Mercer game is what does this mean for Jackson Arnold, right? Because, there have been people in our comment section on social media that have been wanting to shoot Jackson Arnold some bail because everybody else has been getting shot some bail. It's like, hey, listen, Hugh Freeze was the detriment of this offense. Jackson Arnold deserves another opportunity to go out there and show what he's able to do with a new play caller being able to go out there and do that. What does this mean for Jackson Arnold? And what is the utilization of Jackson Arnold going to look like in this game? Coach Durkin was pretty definitive that both of those quarterbacks, they planned to play in this game, right? And so what does that mean? That's something that I had a question about kind of early in this process when that was announced, is what does it mean that you definitely are playing both of those quarterbacks? Are we going to see a shuffle where it's like you get a drive here and you get a quarter here? Or is it going to be you get the first half and you get the second half type of? What does it mean that both of those guys are definitely going to play? Are they going to have, sub package stuff that they're going to bring Jackson Arnold in when they definitely want to run the football, or, have some, is he going to be more of a wildcat kind of quarterback out there that has the ability to throw the football because he is really a quarterback? Like, what does that mean that you were definitive in that? Or is your expectation, and you're just trying to project a level of confidence that you are absolutely going to wipe the floor with this Mercer team, and Jackson Arnold's going to get in there during garbage time once we pull Deuce Knight out? That's your expectation for this game. But if it doesn't go that way, are you going to be able to deliver on the expectation that you set that both of these quarterbacks will play? So I do wonder what the utilization of Jackson Arnold is going to look like in this game. Is it going to be more of a short yardage, red zone QB type of thing where he's going to come in sub package stuff? Is it going to be, swapping quarterbacks in and out? I don't see the swapping quarterbacks thing. I don't like it ever, really. Like, I'm fine with sub package QB stuff. I am one of the few people who doesn't mind a wildcat quarterback coming in occasionally, especially one who can actually throw the football, because it's not just a signal that you're going to run the ball. But I don't like swapping quarterbacks, and I think that swapping quarterbacks is absolutely going to be awful for the maturation of Deuce Knight, because he needs to have a solid game plan that is about him going into this game and allow him the opportunity to get into some rhythm. So I don't want to see that, right? Like, that's one thing I absolutely do not want to see, is the swapping quarterbacks thing. But how much leash, knowing Jackson Arnold is there kind of as your break in case of emergency quarterback or a guy that that you plan on turning to at some point in time in this game, how much leash does Deuce Knight actually have in this game to go out there and make mistakes? If he goes out there early in the game and they get an early 3-and-out, and maybe he has and God forbid, an interception on the second, right? Like let's just, say first drive, they go out there and they try to run the football and, get 3 yards on first down. Second down, they get some kind of goofy penalty that sets them behind. Now you're, second and 13 out there, whatever the numbers, the math actually works out to for that. You get like a false start on the second down after you get 3 yards. So you second and 12, right? Second and 12, you try to throw the ball, incomplete pass. Now you're third and 12. And then, you get another kind of screen or something that you try to get just as a safety play. You end up with 4th and 3 and you punt the ball first drive, right? Let's just make it a not completely the disaster, but something that don't look great first drive out there for Deuce Knight. And then the second drive, defense does its stuff, stands up, you get out there, you get the ball back, and he throws an interception or a fumble happens on that second drive. How much leash are you going to have for your young freshman quarterback to be able to work through issues that he may have that may happen because he's a freshman quarterback out there trying to get his legs under him, when you can turn to Jackson Arnold and say, this guy's played enough P4 ball and he's played well against subpar competition. We can trot him out whenever we want to. Are we going to allow ourselves to get behind the 8 ball while we let him work through this? What's the plan for Jackson Arnold in this game? And how requisite is it on the success of Deuce Knight? That's the question that I have about Jackson Arnold going into this. And speaking of guys who are in an active interview process or trying to build their resume, that absolutely applies to Jackson Arnold in this, right? We here on, in the Auburn spheres, those of us who wanted to have faith in Jackson Arnold going into this season, wanted to put a lot of the blame, not all of, because people don't understand that there's nuance in every argument, but there is a lot of, there was a lot of, hey, it wasn't all his fault. Even the Oklahoma coach, Brent Venables, came out and said, listen, we didn't put him in a really great position to be able to succeed. I don't know how many people would succeed under those circumstances last season. So everybody was able to find reasons to say this could be different for Jackson Arnold. And it didn't look drastically different once you got past that Oklahoma game, right? But then you get the change in the regime and you get a new offensive play caller and you go out there and you put up a ridiculous amount of points and yards versus a capable Vanderbilt defense. And everybody's like, see, it was all on Hugh Freeze. And now, again, people are ready to shoot some bail to Jackson Arnold. And he needs to be able to prove that when he's put in a conducive situation, he can be successful, regardless of what the level of competition is that he's going against. He needs to be able to prove that and show people, man, I can actually go out here and play football at this level when I'm given the right tools and put in the right position to be able to succeed. He is in an active situation where he needs to show that to some people going into this game, because I don't know how many more opportunities he's going to get before that transfer portal window opens. Because let me just say it definitively here. If Deuce Knight plays well and Jackson's not playing hero in this game, I don't know how Jackson Arnold remains in the Auburn uniform, considering the fact that you've already signaled that you want Ashton Daniels to remain here by preserving his eligibility. You've got 2 QBs that will likely start out camp as QB1 and QB2 in whatever order it's going to be. I don't know that you go into the season next year with 3 capable starting quarterbacks and have an open competition, because you don't have that additional transfer portal window like you did before, right? You can't go in and let me see what's going to happen during the spring, and if I don't like it during the spring, I'll transfer out and go somewhere else during the fall. He's got to make that decision now. He's got to figure out at the end of this year, when the transfer portal window opens up, where does he want to be next year? Does he still want to be at Auburn and fight for a starting quarterback position? Because I feel like I got the raw end of the deal with the guy who was at the helm before. And I feel like if we lining it up and everybody's starting from the same spot, I can win this race to QB1 out here. Or is he going to say, listen, it's too many. If it was just me versus one other dude, I'm good with that. But me versus 2 other guys, I could end up number 3 in that. I'm not going with that, man. I'm going to go find someplace else. He needs this game to be able to alleviate in the minds of people the idea that he's not capable of being able to do this. Now, again, I don't know how much it's going to really do that for him versus Mercer. I understand what Mercer is statistically out there, and they've had a good defense. But when you look at who Mercer's played this year, and Mercer has not played a single game versus a Power 4 opponent the entirety of the season. Not one. They don't even have, this is the only P4 contest they have on their schedule is Auburn. Every other game is versus an FCS team. Not even P4. Like, they don't even have an FBS opponent, I don't think, right? I can think everything that they played is an FCS, right? So they haven't played anybody worth anything, right? So, like, statistically, they're great for where they are. We don't actually know whether or not that they can compete versus quality competition. We don't know that for sure. So even if Jackson Arnold does go out there and play well, I think maybe juxtaposing that with how Deuce Knight plays may be the thing. But here's the other question that you have to ask yourself. If Deuce Knight is your starter, Deuce Knight goes out there with the starters and he performs well, they turn the football over to Jackson Arnold in the second half of this game, halfway through the third quarter, whatever it is, who are the players that are going to be out there on the field with Jackson Arnold? Is he going to be playing with the starters? Is he going to be playing with the backups? That may impact how well the offense is going to be functioning around him. And is he going to be able to go out there and overcome but again, listen, the backups for Auburn ought to be able to compete with Mercer, bro. Like, what are we like? All of this projection of I don't know what's going to happen in this game, bro. Like, I'm going to be severe. This is an FCS. This isn't even a G5 opponent. Like, this is an FCS opponent. You should win this football game if you're Auburn. Your backup should be able to go out there and physically dominate this football game. That's the reason why you're at a Power 4 school on scholarship. You should be able to play up head and shoulders above FCS guys. They may have one or two transformational guys. I think that quarterback that they have, extremely good with the football in his hands. He makes pretty decent decisions for the most part. I watched some of his film. Doesn't have a particularly strong arm, but he makes good decisions and doesn't run around a bunch. So he's not really going to get outside of the pocket and do things like Diego Pavia is going to do to you unless you just don't account for him at all. And he can go get some sneaky yards, but he ain't just escaping the pocket for 50, 60 yards down the field. There's no reason why Auburn should not win this football game. Win. I didn't say dominate. They should dominate, but there's no reason why they shouldn't win. The question again still is, if Jackson Arnold's coming in there with the backups offensively and it doesn't look great, how much of that are we going to be attribute to? Well, he wasn't playing with the starters. If he had played with the starters, he'd have looked just as good as Duke. That conversation is going to start to happen as well. Jackson Arnold needs this to go well. And there's the other portion of this. How much pressure is he feeling for this outing to be one where he looks good out there? He needs to be able to perform well because, again, this is an active audition period for him. A lot of people auditioning for jobs right now in this Mercer game. Active audition for Jackson Arnold. Is there pressure on him to go out there and perform in that spot, even though he may not be playing with the starters out there? And is that performance something that people are going to excuse away if it doesn't look great? I have all of those questions about this game coming up for Deuce Knight, for Derek Nix, and for Jackson Arnold in this game. Looking forward to seeing what the answers to all of those questions are. But I want to get over here to the comments and see what you all think about all of those things as well. So we're going to get to our break here. If you are in here right now and you're on YouTube, make sure that you go ahead and like the video. Let me see how many y'all are in here. We got 155 people in here, only 37 likes so far. Y'all being so disrespectful right now. Go ahead and hit the like while we get here into this break. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already, because I definitely want to see you guys more often over here as we get into more things about this game. And share the content with somebody. If you are on Facebook or you are on Twitter right now, come on over here to the YouTube channel so that you can get in on some of the things that we have going on over here. Love for you to stay where you are and continue to watch, but definitely get in here on the YouTube party. That helps us out so much. Even if you just come over here, click subscribe and go back to your Twitter to be able to get into that. But we're going to pay some bills real quickly, and then I'm going to get back into your comments because I want to hear from you all, because that's what we're here for. We're here to talk to y'all. You all are watching the Midweek Report. Again, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the content with somebody. We'll be right back after this quick word from the sponsors. This edition of the War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. Golden's Cast Iron. Whether you work out, grill out, or chill out, you deserve the best life possible, and Golden's Cast Iron is here to provide the tools to help you do it. Check them out at goldenscastiron.com. The Rage Room. The Rage Room is a place where anger and stress find their ultimate release. Set up a session today at one of the 2 great locations in Opelika or Birmingham by visiting opelikaRageRoom.com or BirminghamRageRoom.com. Absolutely appreciate the people who sponsor what we've got going on here at the War Report. If you want to be a quasi sponsor, you can join up as part of the Green Name Gang and be here and get all of the great content that we have for you all. $5.99 gets you to the patron level, $3.99 as a supporter. Of course, you can always subscribe for free, and we appreciate everybody who continues to support in that way. Maybe somebody's feeling generous tonight, part of the Green Name Gang, and wants to gift a membership. You get a free month membership on them. You know, things that you guys, what we listen, we try to make sure you understand what it is that your money goes towards. Your boy Ike Jones going to be out here in Vegas watching Auburn basketball do their thing. So we want to make sure that I can eat while I'm out there, and I'm not just, you know, sitting up in my room, not able to participate in nothing because I ain't got no money out there. So stuff like that helps me to be able to keep myself on the road and travel with this team. So y'all make sure y'all lock in with that. We still got Arizona and Purdue left. That's big travel dates for me as well. So y'all, memberships, that's what that kind of stuff goes towards. And we appreciate that always. You can support us by going over and grabbing some merchandise, right? We got some great merch out here for you guys. And you can go out there and purchase some of that stuff, and that helps to support what we got going on as well. We also want to thank our folks over at AIMA and Associates. They have been sponsors for us for a while now, and we definitely appreciate them. Whether you are contributing to your 401k, but it's invested in, are you contributing to a 401k, but is it invested in the right way? Putting money into your plan is only half the battle. Most people never get help with choosing their allocations, which is arguably the most important part. That's why Abel's Iannone Moore and Associates offers a complimentary 401k guidance based upon the specific options available in your plan. No cost, no commitment, just straightforward advice. Call AIMA at 912-777-4128. Scan the QR code on your screen or visit AIMAinc.com to get your 401k review today. The War Report has been compensated by Abel's Iannone Moore and Associates for this endorsements. Abel's Iannone Moore and Associates is an SEC registered investment advisor. Registration is as an investment advisor does not imply a certain level of skill or training. They just trying to get your money right, and we're trying to get our money right over here at the War Report. And part of getting our money right means that we talk to all of the people who gift us money, and we got a couple of War Report memberships gifted right now. So there's 5 people who have those. I don't know why YouTube is showing it with the @ handles rather than your names on here in your screen names anymore, but that's a YouTube thing. We have zero control over that. But at Caniel, that's like Daniel with a K, I guess. Appreciate you for gifting those War Report memberships right there. And let's get into some of our Green Name Gang out here who also are helping to keep the lights on here. 9-time champion says 3 total touchdowns, less than 1.5 turnovers is what he would like to see from young Deuce Knight in his first start. 3 TDs and less than 1.5. So 1 turnover then. So 3 touchdowns and less than 2 turnovers, really, right? If you're giving the over-under on turnovers at 1.5, then he wants to be under. So 1 turnover. I like that. All right, let's see what else we got here. Man, it's so hard to read these @ handles, man. It's Myriad Shellax, I guess. They need to go back to the screen names, bro. 65% on 10+ throws, I think is what you meant there. 100+ yards in the air. So here's the question. How long is he going to be in the game to get 10 throws, 65%, 100 yards in the air? That's the question I would have for that. Okay, Jonathan Boyson, appreciate you being out here with us. He says that he would like to see 200 passing yards and 2 touchdowns on this one. 200 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Okay. Over 55% completion rate and 30 attempts passing 250+ yards against a team like Mercer, says at BC here. I wasn't gonna read all them numbers and letters. My bad. Demigod comes in and says 1 passing touchdown and a rushing touchdown with no turnovers will be fine for me. Again, I listen. That's respectable for a half of duty, right? It depends on what else happens with that offense for sure. But yeah, I don't mind that. 63% or better on 25 plus passes, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 30 plus rushing yards. First person to mention rushing yards in their expectations for Deuce Knight in this one. 200 yards passing, says James Barnett. 30 rushing yards, another rushing yards guy. 3 total touchdowns is what he would like to see. So I kind of like these stat lines you guys are throwing out here. None of these seem crazy, and no QB swapping. No. Listen, I'm with you, man. I do not want to see any QB swaps happening out here for these boys. They need to just let a guy be the guy for a few quarters and then turn it over to somebody else. Let's see. Darren Lawson says, my little cousin finna ball out. Are you really related to him, or are you like just saying that's your cousin, like type of thing? Are you really blood cousins with the man? I would like to know that information for sure. But welcome. I don't think I've seen your name out here in the chat before. All right. I don't think any of those things that anybody said are unreasonable. I didn't see anybody, unless I probably missed it because I'm out here rolling solo, talk about what the expectations are. I know really early Kaniel had his whole thing where he was talking about the situation with Jackson Arnold, but what are we feeling about Jackson Arnold and what you want to see from him in this game? How much do you want to see Jackson Arnold play in this, right? Like, how many is he? Do you want to see Auburn just handle business and turn over the full half, quarter and a half of duty, right, to Jackson Arnold? How much do you want to see him in this game, and wonder what circumstances do you want to see Jackson Arnold play in this game? I definitely want to hear from you guys on that, because I think that's an interesting thing. Because, listen, as some have pointed out, and I pointed out earlier, I think Jackson Arnold being a guy who was under the previous regime, maybe he was not adequately equipped to be able to go out there and be the starting quarterback and do all of the things necessary. Is there a redemption arc for him? Maybe not as a future for Auburn, but just as a player. Is there a redemption arc for Jackson Arnold out here in this game? Right. So I definitely want to hear. War Eagle says emergency use only. I don't know about emergency use only. We got Mike G jumping in here with us. Mike, what's up? Not sure how much of the show you've heard thus far, but the 2 questions that I've posed to people, and I definitely want to hear your thoughts on this, is how equipped and ready is Deuce Knight to go out here and be the guy? And what are your expectations for him as far as statistically? How will you look at this game in your rear view and say this was a successful thing for Deuce Knight? I'll ask that question first and foremost to you.
How equipped is Deuce to go out there? That is part of why I think not knowing the answer to that question is part of why I think the last coach got fired. This was a guy who you called the future of your program. I think they did a poor job equipping him to be the guy. And what Auburn has tried to do is they've tried to make up a lot of that lost time in the last 2 weeks. Getting him ready. This is why when we told you guys Deuce was going to start, and there was a goon in our comment section essentially saying, Coach Durkin didn't say that at the press conference. I don't care what he said at the press conference. He's got his reasons for wanting to say one thing or the other about the quarterbacks. Now, I can say this now. At the time of the press conference, Deuce and the staff had been told that Deuce was going to start, but the team had not been told. So it was like, look, without me coming out and just saying, hey, it's official, Deuce is going to start. Like, look, you guys know Deuce is going to start. They had to know he was going to start because you had to prepare him to be the starter. when I went to the open viewing practice on Tuesday, it was pretty clear that they were preparing him to be the starter. You can always tell by the way they take the reps and the order that they go out in who's starting. He wasn't doing any of that prior to last week. So how equipped can he get in a short amount of time? Somebody said this in our comment section, and I loved the comment because it opened the door to what we're talking about right now. They said, why is it every other big program can start freshmen and they seem ready to take over? And I said, that's because they're doing a better job preparing their freshmen for that moment. And Auburn is not.
Yeah, that's one of the things I opened up with. I don't know that we've seen a young quarterback that was ready for the moment when he stepped in. I mean, Hank Brown played well in his start that he got versus lesser competition, but he went into that game as the starter. My problem is the situations where you have a guy who's the backup and he's young. Is he ready to go out there and be the starter? I don't know that would have ever been the case.
Yeah, look, and at the end of the day, they've got to do a better job as a staff, making sure the guys are ready for the moment. How prepared is Deuce? We don't know the answer to that question. We hope he's prepared, and you know, I don't know that we're going to be able to walk away from Mercer feeling like that it's Mercer,
right?
And while they're not a terrible team,
it's only going to be, you only make decisions about this if it goes poorly. If it goes well, you're like, well, it was Mercer.
Yeah. The bad we can draw conclusions from. The good, there's only so much we can take from that. But certainly a good performance would not be a negative on him. At least you know, okay, he's prepared to X level. Does that mean he's ready? We posed this question to Taylor Davis on the Auburn Express. I asked, I think, Jacob Goins after this, and I think I asked Charlie 5, if Ashton Daniels gets hurt, which quarterback are you going with in the Iron Bowl? You going Jackson or are you going Deuce? And the answer to that question will tell you a lot about how Auburn, what kind of job Auburn has done getting each guy ready.
I think this game is important to answering that question, though, right? Like, I don't know if they have that answer definitively today, but if he goes out there and struggles, there's no way he sees the field on
correct. Yes, yeah. You may not have the answer even if he goes out and plays well. But if he plays terribly, then yes, I'm going to Jackson Arnold 100%.
Right.
You know, I'm going to a guy who's already beat Alabama.
No, but you have to answer that question because somebody's got to get second team reps, right? Like,
that's right.
The division of reps in practice. And I think that this is an interesting thing too, is how has that portion changed? Like, what has the division of reps looked like for the guy who's not QB1 in the wake of Hugh Freeze not being there? Has that changed at all for those guys? I don't know the answer to that, but how equipped is the backup to step into the game and play football right now?
Yeah. Look, Deuce is supremely talented. There are a lot of guys in the media who have already lost faith in Deuce. I hear them talking around me when we're at practice, when we're at press conferences, when we're watching them throw. I don't know if he's that good. Okay, well, you know what? I don't know if he's that good. I know that he is very talented. But being talented and being good on the field, sometimes those things don't always go together.
Jackson Arnold is supremely
talented. Yes, right. Yeah. And I'm not even ready. I've said this a million times already. I'll say it again. I'm not completely out on Jackson Arnold.
I don't think it's fair to be completely out.
Yeah. I think that if under a better circumstance, he might have been better.
Fair.
You know who reached out to me today?
I do not.
You know, Coach Freeze reached out to me today.
Oh, okay.
He did. I got a text message from a number. Hey, it's Coach Freeze. The number I had for him was his university cell.
Right, of course.
Right, which obviously, the manner of his departure, we split there.
Right.
It was an interesting conversation with him tonight. We didn't talk a lot about football. We talked mostly about how he was doing, about his health. And I was thankful to him for the time that he gave us. He sat down with you and I for one of those, for our very first one. And you remember, Brother Hugh looked tired.
Yeah, he was out there recruiting his butt off.
Yeah, he was recruiting like a machine. And then the subsequent ones were one-on-ones where him and I sat down like 3 more times to just talk Auburn football in the offseason. So mostly the conversation was a thank you for the time that you gave us. There were a lot of people who tried to poison the well between the war report, Coach Hugh Freeze, and it didn't work. And it was something that we talked about. He said, Mike, I'm not that kind of guy. Like, they can say what they want about you, but what I learned about you and, the war report was you guys do a good job and you do it the right way. And I appreciate that. What I told him was, I said, I know that we can't always say the flattering thing. Sometimes in this business, sometimes you have to criticize the person who you've developed a relationship with. But I appreciate that you didn't hold those things against us and you were still willing to sit down. I think it speaks to his professionalism, at least on some level. But what he said was, the reason why I brought this up was, he said, maybe one day we could sit down and have a conversation about what went wrong and why it didn't go right. And I said, you know what? I will get my cameras and come to where you're at for that interview. So you maybe just tune in for that later. I'll let you guys know when that's on the books. But it's definitely something that I'm going to do. Oddly enough, Brian Harsin wanted to do the same thing. He's a little further away than Hugh Freeze is. But I am looking forward to sitting down with him and having kind of like a tell-all where we really open the floodgates and talk about why, like quarterback development. And, he had his own ideas about where this program is and where it should go. And it never got there. But if it gets there now that he is no longer the coach, there will be questions by the time we do the interview. Like, maybe Auburn's a playoff contender with a lot of guys he recruited.
Right.
So, Deuce was always a very interesting part of this conversation for me. It just felt like you're saying he's the future, but I don't feel like he's being treated like he's the future. And and it felt like they were wasting time not bringing him along. And then suddenly you're going to need him and he's not going to be ready. And there were a lot of the guys in those offensive meeting rooms that felt like more should have been done before now to get Deuce ready. So, hopefully Deuce found other ways to mentally prepare himself for the moment, watching film, studying the playbook, lots of things you can do to mentally get ready so that you can process things faster once you get in practice. But, like I said, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see what Deuce does on Saturday. And there really wasn't another option here. I think DJ Durkin might have gotten booed out of the stadium if he rolled Jackson Arnold out there first. Charlie Five and I talked about this earlier this week. What is the QB rotation going to look like between the two quarterbacks on Saturday? Do you give Deuce
That's one of the questions that I ask. Like, what is the division of reps going to look like?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of questions that we have about this. And, whether you like it or not, DJ Durkin is auditioning for the head coaching job in real time right now. These decisions are part of the audition. There are some people, as earlier today, it really feels like John Summerall has vaulted to the top of this coaching, carousel for Auburn. Fortunately, I think for Auburn fans, DJ looks like he's going to be a part of it no matter what. He's going to be a part of Auburn's near future, no matter what. But look, I like DJ Durkin. I like the way he does things, and I hope that there is a route to some of these guys on offense staying on under the next coach to continue the work that they started here when Hugh Freeze got hired, which was based in improving the quality of this roster. They 100% achieved that goal. This team is much more talented than the teams that they inherited. Unfortunately, I don't think a lot was done to help those guys develop, at least offensively. And Deuce was part of that. You have to have the next coach, man. I hope part of the interview process was quarterbacks. You see Summerall posted this thing on Twitter today about like, hey, my favorite time of the week, my QB meetings. And there were like 6 QBs in there. They were like, hey, coach. Hopefully that's a regular thing here at Auburn in the near future. So what was the other part of your question about?
Like, what does it look like? What does a good outing for him look like? Like completion percentage, number of yards, like turnover, touchdown to interception ratio, rushing yards. What does it look like?
Based on what we heard about Deuce, I think anything below 65% completion percentage versus Mercer would be disappointing. I think it would be disappointing. I think anything under 250 yards passing versus Mercer would also be disappointing for me as well, too.
Okay, so you say 250 yards, so I get to ask you this because there were other people who had over 200 yards. How much is he playing? Like, how far into the game does he get to throw 250 yards? And how many passes is that?
2.5 quarters. I would expect big chunk plays. I would expect, some deep balls. I wouldn't be surprised to see a 60-yard touchdown or 2 here. Show that arm off, young man. He has got a great arm. Now, as far as him using his legs, everybody keeps telling me that Deuce is pretty spry.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen that. So I would be surprised to see that, but I expect him to be more of a pocket passer. Maybe unless I'm missing something, I expect him to be more of a pocket passer. And only Charlie Five and I talked about this. I think over on his show.
Mm-hmm.
I think I want to see him use his legs when he has to. Because
so that was part of the question I asked before you got on here too, like, or a statement that I made about the necessity of this being an active interview process for Derek Nix as well. He's going to have 2 very different types of quarterbacks that he's putting game plans together for. Is he able to accurately put a game plan together for a guy who doesn't have the same kind of running ability as Ashton Daniels? Because he's not going to have the kind of designed runs and things of that nature. What does that look like for him in this game?
Yeah,
so that's going to be interesting.
That's a great question. Especially if your line is struggling in pass pro.
Right.
Now, again, I've said this a bunch of times. I'll say it again. One of the cures for poor pass protection is a quick passing game. 1-2, let it rip.
Yeah.
Don't give them time to get back in there. 1 read, 2 read max, and then throw an accurate ball. A slant or an out or something where the receiver is in place and you protect the football. We saw that a lot versus Vanderbilt, where Ashton Daniels was letting it fly, man. There was no time on some of those plays to get back there on them. Right. And when they did have a play action or something that was a little bit more, where it took time for the routes to develop, he was able to extend plays and keep his eyes downfield to make throws. And so when we talked about this, I said, I would like to see him use his legs, not necessarily to run, but to extend plays.
Yeah, for sure.
Can he use his athleticism to escape pressure, step up in the pocket, roll out of the pocket, and then find a guy? He seemed to play really well rolling out of the pocket on A-Day. And then, that may be an important skill for him. So, I don't want to see him taking off running a bunch in this one. This game should be about whether Deuce Knight can throw the ball. I don't see him running a ton. And I think that's what we see. I think we see him let it rip to these 5-star receivers that they went out and got. And I mean,
listen, it's important, I think, for Deuce Knight to be able to utilize his legs for sure to extend plays. But again, I think that plays into the whole idea of how does Derek Nix call this game for him, right? Because we saw in the red zone or in certain scenarios, they were really willing to call design quarterback runs. Are they going to do that for Deuce Knight? Like, he's a big guy and he can definitely move, but are they going to do that with him? Or I know, again, I said this earlier, and you're going to hate it. Do they have wildcat packages for Jackson Arnold to have him come in and do things like that?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're, that's what I'm not against them using Jackson Arnold for wildcat. I mean, I hate that for Jackson Arnold. I hate for him to turn into a gimmick quarterback. I think he's got a lot of talent. But you got to win this game.
I don't think it might just be while Deuce is the starter, and then the rest of the game he comes in and has the full offense. But like, seriously, like 3rd and 3, are you gonna have him wildcat it and just say, hey, we're gonna do it, or call RPO or read option plays so that he has the option to run or pass?
Yeah, you got to get out of this game healthy.
For sure.
For the Iron Bowl. So I would hate to see any of the quarterbacks on the roster get hurt in a game like this. So I think that may factor in a little bit in terms of how they call it. Protect your quarterbacks. Protect your quarterbacks in this one. Win the game. This is all part of the game plan, and that's on these coaches here over these last 2 games, where they are all auditioning, essentially. And part of the blessing that they had in the last 2 weeks was you got 2 really good teams to go up against, to measure yourself against. Offensively, they upped their game. Defensively, they easily had their worst game of the season, but also, Dale Pavia just he just went wild. It was bound to happen. They were bound to have a stinker. And they had it. And so this Iron Bowl, I know Mercer is up next, but this Iron Bowl is going to be lit. This might be the craziest football game we've ever watched.
I'm sorry. I know I'm distracted right now. I'm watching Auburn women's basketball. It's 44-49 with 10 seconds left. Auburn just scored to extend it to a 5-point lead. So I'm like, I swear I'm listening to you, but if I look distracted, it's because I have the Auburn women's basketball game over here on the side. But yes, I agree that this Auburn this Iron Bowl is going to be it's going to be one of those games where they say it throw out the record books. This is definitely a throw out the record books Iron Bowl coming up.
Yeah, look, you got a chance to get bowl eligible and knock Alabama out of the playoffs in one swoop.
Yeah. And you got to handle business versus Mercer. But again, I say this definitively. There is no reason Auburn should not win a game. Mercer is an FCS team that has not played an FBS team yet this season. I don't care what their record is. They haven't even played people on this caliber yet in this season. Go out there and beat these dudes, man.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to have any trouble with Mercer. The Ashton Daniels Iron Bowl is going to be epic. And I want this for DJ. Go get that win, man. Go get that win. Go put that on your resume. That you knocked Alabama out of the playoffs. You got Auburn Bowl eligible. And maybe you send DeBoer packing. Because if you believe some folks on that Penn State beat, Tide, I think 109 is reporting that Kalen DeBoer has risen to the top of Penn State's coaching search candidates. There's a lot of folks saying that DeBoer's family is not totally happy in Tuscaloosa, and I don't know what a loss would do to that situation there. But if he's looking for a way out, like your Auburn, let's just help facilitate that just a little faster.
Listen, if he wants to leave on a sour note, then yeah, just go out here and lay an egg in that game.
Yeah.
I would call a crazy play or something. Like, I'd love it. Go ahead and do that.
Yeah, it would be so much fun to watch to watch them suddenly find themselves in the coaching search. would be amazing on this side of the state. So look, man, it's going to be fun. I think this is going to be a fun last 2 weeks of the season. I'm looking forward to seeing Deuce. I'm looking forward to seeing Cam rack up a bunch of yards in these next 2 games as they continue to get him the ball, and seeing this offensive talent on display for 2 weeks. And one of the things John Cohen said about this coaching search was a lot of the guys reaching out really, really wanted to come coach this roster.
Yeah, retaining the talent is going to be paramount to trying to get the best coach that's available for you, and that's going to be which is why DJ Durkin is such a crucial piece in all of this.
Yeah. He helps you keep the roster together, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Offensively, Auburn is working deals. So I like how Cohen is handling this. They have put together offensive and defensive coordinator combinations for each coach that's left in the running. Auburn is reportedly by us down to 3 candidates for the job. Durkin, Summerall, and a third candidate that I cannot confirm who the candidate is. And I want to make sure I'm clear. I won't confirm it. I don't know who it is. I've kept that one pretty under wraps. But there is a certain ACC coordinator that has agreed to come in as offensive coordinator under all of the candidates for the job. So they've set it up that where they've already got their OC and DC combinations potentially. This is smart.
Big steal. Auburn just won. Coach Vickers just got his first P4 win as Auburn's head coach. They advanced to 6-0, beating Rutgers tonight inside of Neville Arena. Great steal at the end there. Great game. Okay, all right. Now I can lock back.
Steal in a score or steal to seal the game?
To seal the game.
Okay, so they were up.
Yeah,
and they got steal.
51-46. Rutgers was trying to inbound. They stole the inbounds pass to end the threat. Ball game. All right.
There we go. I like that. I love that.
Yeah, listen, man, not just because he's an Auburn guy now, but I really like Coach Vickers, man.
We can coach him.
I really like Coach. He has the right attitude. The coach. I'm pivoting all the way to basketball right now. I apologize because that just happened. Both of the basketball coaches in Auburn right now are painfully obvious when they go up there and talk about their team. Did you hear Coach Vickers say after the last game, I kind of wish we had lost it. Maybe that will motivate them to lock in for the totality of a game. Yeah. He was just like, yeah, we won, but I don't know that we deserve that win, and maybe they need to lose to wake them up.
Yeah, 36% from the field tonight.
Anyway, but basketball is in a good place in Auburn right now with both of those coaches. We'll see what the future leads. Anyway, all right, back to football. My bad. I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all know I'm a basketball guy. I've been watching this game this whole time. But when Mike got on, it gave me an opportunity to kind of keep one eye on it so I could lock in over there. Anyway, so let's back to football. I derailed us. My bad. But yes, offensive coordinator, ACC guy, potentially to be there in whatever the scenario is with whomever the coach may be of that list. Interesting, because I think that there are some interesting offensive coordinators currently in the ACC. I won't go into all the speculations and all that sort of thing, because I think was that a part of the segment you had today, or is the one that's coming out tomorrow?
Tomorrow morning. Yeah,
okay, so tomorrow morning, Mike G is going to be talking about that one. But I do think that that's very interesting of who that could be as the offensive coordinator that's agreed to come to the Plains if one of these guys has been hired as the coach.
Yeah, it's again, I think that Cohen has put together a really good plan that ensures that they get who they want and not who they just end up with.
Right.
Because I honestly think that's how we ended up with Hugh Freeze as head coach. The deal was all but done for Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
And it fell apart in the 11th hour.
Yeah, I mean, I think Freeze was always on the list, but it was one of those situations where it's like, we're going to keep this in our, because let's be clear. Hugh Freeze didn't have like a bunch of other offers sitting out there on the table that he had to choose from. It was, we're going to go after our guy, and if we don't get him, we're okay with our concession, right? Like, now, what I don't like is he was the guy, like the idea he was the guy all along that was then parroted out there. It's like, no, he wasn't. Like, let's be, that was this. He was on your list the whole time, but he wasn't number one on that list the entire time.
Yeah, and I've said that. right? Like Cohen said that, and it's like, all right, you got to say that now that you hired him, but like nobody believes that he was at the top of the list. Again, I think they ended up with him because that's, again, the Kiffin deal fell apart. Now, as far as I know, Kiffin is not a part of any discussion currently. So if you were a Lane Kiffin guy, I'm telling you, he's not even being considered this go around. It's not a consideration.
Yeah, listen, I don't know that, again, as much trolling as Lane Kiffin has done, like, I think he maybe has burned that bridge a little bit with, like, it might need to be a new administration before Lane Kiffin could get an opportunity at Auburn, which he may not need it at this point in time. If he's going to stay at Ole Miss, it feels like he's going to be there for a while unless he makes the jump to the NFL. And if he's going to go to either LSU or Florida, it feels like those are long-term solutions for him there as well. So I don't think it's ever going to swing back around to have an opportunity at Auburn again. I think that ship has sailed.
I do too. I think a lot of folks around here have soured on that, and they're not going to change. So he's not. I hear his name a lot in these discussions. I'm telling you, he's not being considered. So I don't care. I know I don't know who the third person is, but I can tell you it's not Lane Kiffin. It's just not. So we'll see what Auburn ends up doing here. Either way, you got to get Deuce out there. You got to get him playing well. You have to show the world that Auburn is going to be a force, man. And whether you like it or not, you've got to sell to these kids why they should stay. When I tell you, like, they are trying to absolutely raid this roster, everybody.
Why wouldn't they? There's a bunch of talent on there.
Yeah, man, they are really, again, impressively coming after Auburn's guys. And they're going to have a hell of a time, I think, fighting off a lot of these schools for our kids. So, those guys over at On to Victory, Jason Campbell, I know my brother is probably not even sleeping.
I mean, there's probably not an opportunity for him to sleep because, again, you've already said it. A big draw for these potential coaching candidates is the roster. So if they get here, it's like you buy a house that was supposed to be furnished, and you go and you do the walkthrough, and you're like, yeah, we're going to let you keep this furniture right here, and you get this washer and dryer. And then, you go away for a couple of weeks and you come back after you sign the paperwork and you walk through the house again, and somebody broke into the house and stole all the stuff. And you're like, wait a minute, didn't we agree? And it's like, well, I can't lock the stuff up. Like, the most I can do is leave it in the house. If somebody comes in here and gets the stuff, that's not really on me. And that's the position. Like, if essentially Jason Campbell and all of the people who are working with that team at On to Victory and et cetera with NIL are essentially guard dogs at a house right now. And they're trying to make sure nobody breaks in and takes all the stuff that made the house more attractive to people who wanted to come and buy the property.
Right. So, they've got their hands full. They've got their hands full trying to make sure that there is a roster here that's attractive, or, again, it's back to the drawing board for Auburn, especially offensively. So, like, there's a lot of reasons, I think, for guys like Ashton Daniels to come back. I mean, where else is he going to go where he's going to be guaranteed a starting job?
I mean, I don't know. Like, listen, there may be some jobs out there that would take an Ashton Daniels, right? Like, I'm not saying that he doesn't have an opportunity to go play football somewhere.
Yeah, if he plays well over these last two games, or the last game, which is the Iron Bowl, there's not going to be a better place for him to return than here. That's for damn sure, right? Like, this will be
okay. So that interesting place to kind of park and for the last 20 something minutes that we're on here and talk. Is what does the future look like? I know we're forecasting a little bit here, but what does the future look like at the quarterback position if Deuce Knight plays well versus Mercer and Ashton Daniels plays well in the Iron Bowl? You'll have two showings of him in the Iron Bowl. Do they go into the next season as open quarterback competition, or is one guy anointed as the starter? Which let me just say my portion of this. I hope that they don't just hand the job to someone again, But what do you feel like that situation is going to look like, and how much of a guarantee of an open competition does it need to be for the sake of both of those quarterbacks?
I think it needs to absolutely be open, but I think you're in potentially a pretty good position if you with Ashton, where again you saved the Deuce's red shirt, so he's got
Right.
4 years left to play. So I wouldn't be in a rush to get Deuce out there if you felt like he wasn't where he needed to be. He's
That's,
got
I
more.
mean, not a rush, but like, is it is he going to have an opportunity to compete for it? And is Ashton Daniels saying to himself he's willing to go into a quarterback competition with the only year of eligibility he's got left?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. I think that ideally, if Ashton plays well and he's got so much experience as a P4 starting quarterback, what's wrong with starting as a redshirt sophomore if you're Deuce? Knowing that you are the absolute breaking in case of emergency court, like you are the backup,
right?
And nobody is in front of you, and there's a clear succession there that he's stepping in, like we
I think
see
that
at a
that's
lot
a
of
great thing.
Yeah.
The question I have is, how patient is he? Because, and so there's nuance to this too, right? Like, I think a portion of that is going to be how well they sell him on that succession plan going into the season and saying, hey, not even going into the season, you need to sell that plan, which is why John Cohen wants to get this locked up very quickly after the Iron Bowl before the transfer portal opens. Like, they need to have a guy who is hired within a couple of days of the Iron Bowl. He said 24 hours. I'll give him 48 to try to get that done. And then before hour 72 hits on the clock, after it hits 0, you start the clock 72 hours of that time. He needs to have had a conversation with the top 10 guys on offense, or top 11 guys on that offense from skill positions. I don't think offensive line is one of those things that he needs to like sell succession plans to, but he needs to talk to both of those quarterbacks, the running backs in that room, and all of the receivers that they consider to be crucial to retain. He needs to have talked to all of those guys within 24 hours of his hiring.
Yeah. The great part about this is Cohen is doing some of that work for him right now. Talking to players, against you, selling the plan of.
But see, this is why I say the coach is important to that, because they did a lot of that selling but like, how well is that coach at actually implementing that plan, right? Because having a plan that you can't go out there and execute with a guy doesn't really matter, right? Like, he needs to believe that what I'm hearing from Cohen is being echoed by this coach, and they're going to be able to actually actively execute that plan when it's time to do it once the season starts, because he only has a short amount of time to make the decision that he's going to hit the transfer portal. It's only one window this year. He doesn't get to come back after spring and say it didn't work out, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
He's got to decide that early.
He does. I think that they're going to hold a lot. I think a lot of these guys are going to return. I do. And I think that letting go of Freeze when they did was very important to this, because if you're willing to make a change there, then there's hope that things will be different. And offensively, it did look different. I told you, again, Cam's folks were like, just throwing, like, we just want to see him catch the ball.
Yeah.
We just want to see him catch the ball, Mike. He's so talented. They don't like losing, but certainly they don't like losing while he's not getting the ball. Don't double whammy me.
Right.
The offense wasn't the reason they lost that game. You hold them to what you held everybody else for, you win by multiple scores in that game. Right? At least 2 scores. So, I think there's a lot of hope that there's something different coming, and that's what is the most important thing, I think, to pitch into these guys to come back. Because I'll tell you, if you were a part of the last regime's plan, there were a lot of guys who probably felt like they got hoodwinked. This isn't what I signed up for. A lot of guys who probably feel this way. So you cannot bring back the same guy and then try to sell to him after 3 years that it's going to be different.
Right.
No. You got me with that for 3 years. You bring in a new guy with a track record of doing the things that we're talking about recently at the P4 level, and then maybe we could have a different conversation.
Right.
That's why this OC that they're talking about bringing in, because what I've been told is one stipulation that Auburn has for whatever coach gets hired is that they're not going to call plays on either side of the ball.
They want the CEO type. Okay, so all right, so I didn't even think about this, but let's have this conversation quickly. What does that mean for Derek Nix?
You know what is crazy is that I have not heard a scenario that involves him as OC. Not one. That doesn't mean there isn't one. I'm telling you, I just haven't heard it. And I've heard a lot. So maybe in the scenario where Durkin gets the job, he stays. But that also, I think, would mean putting up yards on Alabama.
I mean, so that's that. I mean, so I guess that's where that's more of the question, right? Like, if they go out there and have another Vanderbilt type performance on offense versus Bama, and that means good things for DJ Durkin, does that also mean good things at Auburn for Derek Nix? Because everybody's talking about the retention of Durkin being so high. Like, do the players say to themselves, "Man, you know what? I kind of like that's kind of like
this dude's calling it." Yeah, right. Yeah. I hear you. I just have not heard that that's a thing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, is he done? Like, I mean, maybe he's auditioning for his next job someplace else as OC.
I mean, it's going to be an audition one way or another, right? And I think it's going to be super interesting because he had the opportunity in the offseason to go coach at his alma mater, and he turned it down to come back at Auburn this year. Like, there was a lot of smoke around the fact that he was going to get an opportunity to go coach over there, and he didn't even really bite on it in any real way. Is that going to come back around for him after what would then be 3 games of good offensive play calling? Is somebody going to be like, "Oh, this guy is actually better than we thought. We need to get him on our staff as an OC."
Yeah.
Or as a G5, G6 head coach, or an FCS head coach. Is he going to get an opportunity to go show his chops somewhere else if he goes out there and calls a really good game in the Iron Bowl, and then subsequently maybe even during a bowl game?
Yeah, man. I wish that we were talking about Derek Nix more. Or is he? I mean, because he would essentially. I wonder if they would have like a co-OC situation, co-offensive coordinator, where he continues to coach running backs and like.
I don't know how. I mean, if he wanted to stay on as the running back coach and a run game coordinator, I would love that, because I actually do think that Derek Nix is a really talented coach. He just hadn't had an opportunity to show that prior to now. But I would assume that whomever the offensive coordinator in waiting is, this guy is, has a staff of people that he wants to come in that he doesn't have to teach his stuff to. He can just say, "Hey, I got a guy who can come be my running backs guy. I got a guy who can come be my wide receivers guy, and we can hit the ground running with this stuff." Right? Like, that's what most OCs would want to be able to do, is say, "Yeah, I'm going to be the offensive coordinator, but I want to bring in my guys who can run my stuff." I mean, I think Nix is talented enough to be a guy on that staff, but does he want to go from being the offensive coordinator in title, whether it was in name only under Freeze or not, to being a running backs coach?
I mean, look, I mean, I think it was pretty clear that he wasn't calling plays
right
before. So, and he seemed content. I don't know. I won't say that he was content. I can't say that, but he accepted that the role here and was continuing in it. But once you get a taste of it, do you want to go back? And will there be a market for him? Will there be a market for him to go to another P4 program and dial it up? I hope there is. I mean, he's a really, really good guy. And I mean, you want to see it work out for him. It's unfortunate that Auburn ended up where they are right now. And I got to tell you, I can't wait for this sit down with Freeze. I'm 100% going to make that happen. It'll be our 5th sit down where he just spills the beans on, how things worked on the inside.
Listen, if people can talk to his former quarterback about what they felt like went wrong, then you can talk to Coach Freeze about what he felt like went wrong.
Yeah. Like I'd rather get it from him. Like I said, aside,
and that's no shade to that interview. I thought that was a really good interview that Charlie did.
Yeah, absolutely. I despite how a lot of folks I mentioned, tried to poison the well between him and I, we had a really good relationship. And, I hope that he gets his health in order. We talked a lot about his health tonight and, how he feels and, what's in the future in terms of surgeries and those kind of things. So, that's his private business. I'm not going to put that out here tonight, but I can't wait to sit down with him and just talk ball. Right. Like every time we sat down to talk ball, it was always a great conversation. We brought you guys those interviews right here on this channel. And I feel very confident in saying that nobody else is doing that. Like nobody else is doing that. Nobody is bringing you the interviews that we're bringing you directly with all the power players. You wanted to hear from the athletic director on the coaching search? We gave you that. And we didn't hide it behind a paywall either. We put it out there for everybody. We clipped it. We said, here it is. Hear from your athletic director directly on where Auburn is at and what they're willing to do to go out and get the coach they need. And in the offseason, you wanted to hear from the head coach. We gave you that. And we asked them the questions that you guys wanted the answers to, not the questions that we wanted to ask.
Right.
So, I feel confident in that work. We're going to keep doing that. We're going to keep doing that. It will feel to some like maybe we're dredging up the past here, but I think that a lot of folks who believed in Freeze would like to hear from him very candidly why it didn't work and what went wrong. And same thing when I had an extended conversation with Brian Harsin after, because when he got fired, I was sick. So, when Coach Freeze reached out with his number, I'm glad that he did that because we all had a lot of us had a university cell. I only know a couple people with his private cell phone number. However, it happened so fast, you don't get a chance to say goodbye or thank you or anything. They're there 1 minute and they're gone the next. And if you don't have a way to get in contact with them, that could be difficult. So he reached out and, like I said, man, we got to clear the air on some stuff and, man, the question I asked Brian Harsin that I will ask Hugh Freeze is, if you had it to do all over again, what would you do differently? What mistakes did you make? Harsin was very clear with me on the mistakes he felt like he made and what he would have done differently, not only for the program, but for particular players.
He should answer that question by saying, I wish I had taken my daughter's phone away from her like they took my phone away from me when I got the job. When I got fired, I should have taken her phone away and let her not talk.
Yeah. So I'm really interested there. If you've never had a one-on-one conversation with Hugh Freeze, it's not hard to understand how he interviewed well for this job. It's really not. He is a very, very likable guy. Sitting down one-on-one. But there were clearly some things that happened here that, I said it made the decision hard for Cohen to continue to defend him.
Yeah. I mean, listen. After Kentucky, it was indefensible. Like that, like you literally have robbed him of all of his defenses, scoring 3 points in that game.
Yeah.
And there's no reason why the worst team in the conference comes into your house and you score 3 points. Like there's just no, your defense gave up 10 points and you lost.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's and the 3 points you got was because the defense there's no defense of this left, bro. It's just we're done.
Yeah.
Don't lose my number.
So here we are, and like I said, it's got to be a thing where you don't make the mistakes that were made here moving forward. Auburn has got to be able to move forward, and they've got to be able to figure out how to get the playmakers Ike the ball.
Yeah.
And get all this great talent that you recruited, use them more effectively than you have. I keep saying it. When I tweeted this out, when Auburn has been able to find a quarterback, absolute gangbusters, man. It's been pretty incredible, the results that we've seen with just a little better than average quarterback play. 2004, Jason Campbell, 13-0. Brandon Cox from 2005 to 2007 went 29-9. So from 2004 to 2007, right, you had a 42-9 record. Yikes. 42-9 in 4 years. Cam Newton, 2010, 13-0. Heisman. Nick Marshall went 20-7 in 2 years. Jarrett Stidham went 18-9 in 2 years. Auburn was in the conversation for championships in all those years.
Right.
It shouldn't be there shouldn't be these 4-year gaps without a quarterback. You went 2015, 2016 with almost zero quarterback play. 2008, 2009, no quarterback play. And since Stidham, I would argue Bo's freshman year was probably the last time we saw decent quarterback play. And that was rough at times.
I think his last year at Auburn was his best year before he got hurt.
2021?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'll give you that. So it's just these large gaps of not being able to find a quarterback while other schools seemingly just have their successor every year.
Or have found more success in the transfer portal to just go get a guy.
Yeah.
It's maddening to think about how much talent has been wasted because the quarterback has been a limiting factor to the offense's success.
Yeah. I mean, it was exciting watching Asher Daniels versus Vanderbilt because, I mean, he was dialing it in. Was he 70% passing in that game?
Versus Vandy?
Yeah. What did he?
It was really good though.
Yeah, it was high. It was high, and it looked great, and it was exactly what Auburn needed to see. All that was missing was the dub, man. But if you can get that sort of quarterback play, I think moving forward, you're going to have a really, really good time, easy time. I think being in the conversation for the playoff come November. This was supposed to be the year. The schedule is brutal next year, man. Both Mississippi schools and LSU come back, and you add Florida and Tennessee. Yikes, man. Baylor at a neutral site. I will continue to shit on Baylor for the rest of my life. I don't give a F about that school. Let me tell you something. F a bear. I do not care about Baylor. Baylor lives do not matter.
Baylor lives don't matter. It's funny.
So I think that Deuce plays well on Saturday. And I think that we carry this conversation about who and what and it should stay on this staff into the Iron Bowl. But make no mistake, the Iron Bowl will be everybody's final audition for keeping their jobs outside of DJ Durkin.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having the Iron Bowl conversation pre and post because I think it's going to be some like the storylines write themselves, but the story is not going to write itself, and so we're gonna have I think a healthy level of conversation around what that story may potentially be, and then in the aftermath of what all of this unravels to be, because if John Cohen and his plan is to be trusted, we're going to see the pace pick up very rapidly the moment that the Iron Bowl ends, win or lose. And I'm looking forward to seeing what that comes out to be as well.
Indeed.
All right. Let's get to a couple of comments here, because we do have a few of those, a couple of super chats before we get out of here today. Harold Greer says, at least a quarter. I mean, we will end up moving on from him. Just real BS situation for him. Speaking of Jackson Arnold.
Yeah.
At least a quarter. Listen, I hope he gets quarter and a half, 2 quarters of duty. But I think there's only 2 scenarios in which that happens, though. Deuce plays really well and you're out to a big lead and you're just like, all right, second half, Jackson Arnold. Yeah, go ahead and go out here and show him what you got. Or Deuce plays really poorly and he's got to come in and save the day. I mean, he didn't get a quarter and a half, but what was that? Georgia State with TJ Finley type of thing coming in. Gifted membership by Bulldog Mississippi. That's Mr. Sip. I appreciate you doing that, sir. War Eagle Steve, to further Ike's question, is it possible Nix departs and takes one of the current QBs with him, assuming great QB play over the next 2 games? That's interesting. Would a guy like Ashton Daniels be like, yeah, I'm going to use this additional eligibility to go play quarterback for the guy who dialed it up for me in these 2 games where I looked good?
If he's promising you a starting job and Auburn is not, especially if you played well, if you win the Iron Bowl, I would consider that if I were him.
Yeah. So listen, these storylines are going to get super interesting here going into and coming out of that game, depending upon how it goes.
Yeah, you only got 1 year of eligibility left. So if you're Jackson, you got to go where you're guaranteed to play. As you mentioned, I won't be in a quarterback competition in my last year.
Right. Harold jumps back in. Wouldn't mind with Ashton Daniels and actually develop Deuce Knight further. Speaking of next year going into the quarterback competition. Yeah. Listen, I think that's the best scenario for Auburn, is that Ashton Daniels is your presumptive starter and you've got Deuce Knight, who may not necessarily be in competition with him, but has the opportunity to go out there and show what he has in a full offseason with a new offensive coordinator that has a good plan for him. And he be the heir apparent to the quarterback helm. I think that's the best scenario for Auburn out there. Wesley Hilson, I remember the picture, so I know who you are, says absolutely not. Equal reps. He wants equal reps for both of the quarterbacks out there in this game. I think some were suggesting they don't want to see Jackson Arnold at all in this game. And I'm not there. I'm not at, he doesn't deserve to get an opportunity to go out there and play at all. I think equal reps is difficult to promise, right? Like, are you literally monitoring the reps and being like, all right, he's played 20, it's your turn to go get 20. Like that's the only way to me that you can really, or at least equal number of series, is that you go back and forth. Don't want that, right? And you can't really predict how many series a quarterback is going to get based upon, the game and the scenario, right? Like, so I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. James Barnett, Jackson Arnold got entire games even when he was missing wide open receivers. So short of that. Deuce Knight should get the same leeway.
Yeah, you just can't lose the game, period. Right? Like, yeah, I mean, that's what it boils down to. You can't lose the game. So
okay, all right, before we get to this, because that's the last one I had start, right? Like, again, just kind of play this scenario back out. Like, let's say the offense is doing really well, but somehow the defense is giving up and it's a close game, but it's not because Deuce Knight is playing poorly and it ends up being a close game into the 3rd quarter. You just keep Deuce Knight out there while he's playing well, right? Like, there's no need to go to Jackson Arnold, but our defense is, for some inexplicable reason, unable to hold the Mercer Bears' mighty offense down. Again, I get it that they have the most points in the college football right now, points per game or whatever, but like, come on. Yeah. Let's be serious here for a second. I'm gonna be severely disappointed if they go out here and get their nose bloodied by Mercer on defense. But in that scenario, how can you turn the ball over to Jackson Arnold? Say, all right, go out. I know we're winning the game. It's close. Deuce is playing well, but we're going to send you out here anyway. Like, can you even do that? That's why I think it's really interesting that he came out so early saying both quarterbacks are going to play in this game, because I don't know how that's a guarantee unless you're going to have sub packages or swapping quarterbacks in and out. Like, I don't know that you can guarantee that unless the third scenario is you're so confident that you are going to beat the brakes off of Mercer that you know the backup is going to get an opportunity to play.
Yeah, a lot of folks put way too much stock in him saying that both quarterbacks are going to play.
I'm only putting stock in it because he said it. Had he not said it, I'd ignore it.
Yeah. But I mean, where I was going with that was in the context of we don't know who's going to start.
No, I'm not talking about starting stuff.
You knew who was going to start, but like to your point, because you're starting Deuce, if for some reason the game ends up in the scenario you described, that's why again this whole both quarterbacks are going to play. Yeah, I put exactly zero stock in that statement. And, a lot of folks was just like, hey, you just ignore what he said. And, yeah, because it's silly. He's starting Deuce. Not a single person believed that they were having a competition for who's going to start on Saturday.
There's a lot of people who believed it. I don't know that anybody who, because again, I think for me, it would have looked poorly towards what you've been advertising as the future of your program to not start him in a game where essentially you should be able to trot any of those three guys out there and win it.
Yep. And
there's not a scenario where it makes sense to not start him in this game.
He can't burn his red shirt and
right.
Yeah, I mean, the best thing for your program was to roll Deuce out there. You're paying attention. We all knew that. So yeah, like I said, I don't know. It's Mercer, man. If you was playing the I want them to prepare for two quarterbacks game. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know that there's not a reason you should do. And here's the thing. How are they preparing for Deuce Knight? They've literally seen him play like 3 drives of football as a collegiate football. Like, there's no way you can even prep for that. So yeah, I don't know, man. Again, it doesn't like the mind games aren't necessary for Mercer. Go out there and mash these boys.
Yeah, exactly.
Old man Shredder, I guess is that says Jackson Arnold has a frozen albatross around his neck for all of his starts as well. Speaking of, I think he's calling Hugh Freeze that frozen albatross. Listen, it's undeniable the offense looked markedly better without Hugh Freeze being the guy out there calling the plays. I think it's fair to say that is too much to determine whether it was just the right plan for Vandy or the guy calling the plays now is just that much more equipped to do that for the guys that are in that quarterback room. Again, that's yet to be seen. But what is clear is, and has always been clear, Jackson Arnold's supremely talented. He has not been set up for success consistently enough. That doesn't mean that he doesn't hold on to the football too long. That doesn't mean that he doesn't miss throws occasionally. That doesn't mean that, sometimes he's not processing the defense properly. All of those things can be true. And he wasn't set up for success. Like, both of those things can absolutely be true at the same time. And now is the opportunity to determine whether or not he can be a serviceable quarterback for someone, because I don't believe that's going to be at Auburn next season. I don't know that's where we're going to get to that place. Because again, if we do have some sort of quarterback competition, you definitely aren't going to have 3 guys that want to go into that competition going into the spring of next year.
Yeah.
Somebody's hitting the door. So
agreed.
All right. Any final thoughts before we get out of here, Mike G? I know we got a lot of great conversations still left. May have a couple of things going on tomorrow.
It's been a long day. Lots of information overload here today on this coaching search. We're going to share some more of that information on the Auburn Express. It looks like we're going to have another live tomorrow night. So we did a live last Friday. We're going to bring you guys another one this Friday. Just more opportunities for engagement. If you're watching this show on Twitter, do us a favor, come on over to YouTube, hit subscribe on the channel, sign up, maybe even join as a member. You want to be a part of our game day experience here. So we're broadcasting live to Twitter for our Twitter peeps there that live there. Almost 800 people on with us right now between all the platforms that we broadcast to. So we appreciate you guys for joining us. There's going to be a lot of conversation around this coaching search. I can tell you the War Report is on top of it just as well as anybody out here. So you want to be watching the channel and to stay informed on when Auburn is making moves. We know a lot more than we're saying right now. It's out of respect for the process and the people involved. We've got to hold back a little bit here, but I'm looking forward to sharing with everybody what is to come, because I like the scenarios that have been presented. And I think that each one of those scenarios sets Auburn up for success in 2026. I really do believe that, Ike. John Cohen has done a fantastic job managing this process this go around. And, you know, I'm very happy to hear that, because this will be his last opportunity to hire a coach here at Auburn. He didn't get this one right. You know, as much as I like John, I think he will be done. So he said, I am the committee, and he has to be the committee because, you know, it's going to be on him no matter what. This is going to be a fun off season for sure.
For sure. All right. We'll take the people out of here. Tell them other ways that they can support what we've got going on.
I want to thank our title sponsor, the Rage Room. You can find them at these convenient locations. We've got a new location for the Rage Room down here in the Auburn area, so we'll get that to you guys next week. Join as a member. $5.99 a month will get you there. We appreciate our community for helping us grow our community. So hit that join button. Make sure you get in on the film reviews, the office hours, and the game day chats there. Thank you to everybody who gifted a membership today. We appreciate that. Follow us on podcasts, all the podcast platforms, the Auburn Express, Uptempo, College Loop, Just a Sec, and the War Report Gaming Channel, bringing you guys lots of great audio-only content. And do us a favor. After the video, smash that super thanks button. Your financial support helps keep the work that we're doing here going. You're muted.
Muted, my bad. Thank you to everybody who's been in here rocking with us today. If you don't mind sharing the content with somebody out there, please do that. Like the video. If you're over here on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on podcasts, make sure that you go ahead and give us those 5-star reviews over there and have us on automatic downloads. If you're on Twitter right now, go ahead and follow us at The War Report or on Instagram at The War Report. We're TW Report on TikTok. So much great content coming up for you guys later on this week. And content from Mercer coming up this weekend where Auburn takes on that team. We're out of here until the next time. And as always, War Eagle. Hey.